let's go ahead and get to some of the liberal Democratic reaction.
Blue MAGA.
To Trump's Gaza ethnic cleansing plan. So, you know, par for the course. Rather than saying, you know, gee, it would have been good if Democrats could have beat this guy because this is all really going terribly. And maybe if they hadn't been so committed to their...
Wait, what? Democrats are responsible for Trump's wrongdoings as well?
Own genocidal plans with regard to Gaza, maybe they could have eked out a win since it was really, you know, really quite close. You have a number of significant liberal accounts who have decided that the real fault was the people who either stayed home and didn't vote, or who, you know, actively voted for Trump because they were so horrified by the genocide that was being perpetrated by the Biden administration. So let's go ahead and put the first one up on the screen here. We can do a speed. Perpetrated by the voted for Trump because they were so horrified by the genocide that was being perpetrated by the Biden administration.
Now it's not just that the Biden admin was helping, or was complicit with, or was allowed. Now it was just the Biden admin was just genociding Palestinians. The Biden himself was down there beating up Arabs. I guess that was okay. Thank you for that. Anyone else remember? Yeah. Anyone else remember Biden's genocide?
Horrified by the genocide that was being perpetrated by the Biden administration. So let's go ahead and put the first one up on the screen here. We can do a speed run through these. This is Simone Sanders. I think now it's very appropriate to reiterate that elections have consequences. Obviously, that is a jab at you know, people who were worried about the genocide. We can go up to Harry Sisson. Next says, I hope all of the losers who said and posted things like this understand they played a crucial role in helping Trump get elected. He will now hurt millions with that power. This was somebody who said, hey, Kamala, Gaza is speaking now, bitch. Next up, we have Adam Gentleson, who said in 2000, the left said there was no difference between Gore and Bush, so vote Nader. Then Bush started a war of choice in Iraq. In 2024, the left said there was no difference between Harris and Trump, so vote uncommitted. Now we have Trump proposing that the U.S. take over Gaza.
Gentleson, by the way, you can check FEC records. He's still a consultant for John Fetterman. Like he's a former chief of staff to Fetterman. People knew that, but like, go ahead and look. He's on Fetterman's payroll.
There you go. All right. And next.
What's the point? Fetterman is a Democrat, at least. I mean, what's the?
This one, last one we can put up here. A genuine question, not aiming to dunk on, etc., but for the pro-Gaza folk who yelled genocide Jill and killer Kamala and abstained, voted Jill Steiner, and voted for Trump. What's your reaction to Trump saying U.S. will own Gaza? Same thing in your eyes as Harris, or regret now, or question mark? So, you know, this is all very, very productive. Ryan always to blame.
Well, genuine question, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Genuine question.
So if it's a genuine question, like, here's a genuine answer. Can anybody point me to any moment where Kamala Harris said that she was going to do anything different than Joe Biden and was going to ever use U.S. leverage to force a ceasefire in Gaza?
Right.
Was there any moment where Kamala Harris told voters that she would be less hawkish or less warlike than Donald Trump?
Good question.
So genuine question, back to this genuine question.
Like the only people who are unaffected by a situation have the luxury of looking at it in a binary state. Like only the whitest and most disaffected, most untouched people of a circumstance have the luxury of all or nothing. All or nothing, that's a luxury belief. That's a belief you have when politics is like a hobby and you practice it for revenue. I think that there is probably a significant difference between an ideal scenario and a less than ideal scenario and a worst case scenario. The idea that you can't see the difference between like the not most ideal scenario and the worst case scenario is absolutely fucking stupid, but
yeah.
Can anybody find me an example of either of those? Because I can find you many, many examples of Harris saying the opposite, that she would continue the Biden approach to arming Israel no matter what. But
you'll soon get to know his wife, Gwen, to whom, you know what? Hold on a second. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. Here's the thing. We are all in here together. I'm told an extraordinary number of folks who are here together because we love our country. We're here to fight for our democracy. So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done. And the president and I are working around the clock every day to get that ceasefire deal done and bring...
This isn't what they wanted, though. This isn't what they wanted. What they wanted was for the United States to say, you need to have a ceasefire right now with no conditions. That's what they wanted. This doesn't count. This is not what they're looking for. They say they want ceasefire with no conditions. That's it.
Also, that she would be tougher when it came to making war than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
We the most lethal army ever. You know, like
I don't know. That sounds like a horrendous misquote, but okay.
Executed transnational gangs.
yes. So tell me, like, what is
Not
the
to mention
what
running
is
around with Liz Cheney and
bringing Liz Cheney up on
delighted
stage
by the
talking about Dick
endorsement of
Cheney? So what is the argument for the?
Well, I don't. How am I? Can somebody help me? How am I supposed to feel about Crystal Ball? I don't understand. Because I heard her debate Cenk, and in the Cenk debate, it seems like she was ruthless in laying out that the Democrats and the Republicans are significantly different. She did a really good job at that. And then now here, I feel like I'm getting the limp dick. Oh, they would have been just as bad. Kamala would have been just as bad as Trump would have been. Like, I don't know.
To make the case that the war would not still be going on right now as we speak if Kamala Harris were president. Like, setting aside everything else that Trump is doing. Like, what's the case to make that right now we'd have a ceasefire in Gaza if Kamala Harris were president? Like, how do you, in your mind, how do you get, what happened from Election Day in November to today in February that brought about?
You don't think the Dems should have been stronger on pushing a message for peace for Palestine? The problem is you only see the potential voters that you can gain, and you're not paying attention to the voters that you could lose. Whether you like it or not, whether you think it's justified or not, and at this point, fuck Israel. But like the reality is old people love Israel in the United States. Like I think it's almost universal on the left and right. All the old people love Israel. So the idea that, okay, maybe we can pick up 200,000 like young people that don't even fucking vote, and that's going to be the way to win at the expense of who knows how many older people who are all Israeli simps or Israel simps. Like, I don't know if that would have been a winning strategy.
About a ceasefire. Because we have a ceasefire with Trump as president. What does it hold? Does he send troops in there? We don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But right now we have a ceasefire. What's the evidence?
Like, I'm pretty sure it was only because of the United States, because I don't believe Israel gives a fuck about the UN or anything else. I think it was the United States that forced, it was a 1 week ceasefire. Was it on October 13th? Am I making that up? Like a week or two into the war, I think Biden forced a 1 week ceasefire for humanitarian shit. Who knows what would have gone differently? Do you think Trump would have pushed for that? I don't know about that. And then and like for the pushing into Rafah, pretty sure it was Biden, pretty sure it was the US that pushed Israel to be like, hey, slow down there. You got a lot of people down there. You better get them out before you start bombing shit. And they did. Would Trump have pushed for that? Probably not. But
That Harris would have gotten that done.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And also, you know, the uncommitted movement, they really went above and beyond to give her an opportunity to.
And a bunch of the uncommitted leaders endorsed Harris.
Endorsed her anyway, that's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, they, like, the ask to have a Palestinian American make vetted comments endorsing Kamala at the DNC, that's how low the bar was in terms of her trying to extend an olive branch. How many times did she have the opportunity? You know, at a time when people were saying, hey, you really need to separate yourself from this guy Biden who's really unpopular. Here on a platter is an area where he is profoundly unpopular.
why are these people so obsessed with the plight of Palestinians specifically? Don't see these people caring about the folks in Yemen. Palestinians were just very, very good. Arafat and the Soviet Union were very good at teaching them how to do like propaganda for the West. And they got swept up in the whole Marxist oppressor, oppressee, like the weird class struggle, Western imperialist shit. They spoke that language much more effectively to the West than whatever the fuck language Israel thinks it speaks.
Popular, where you could easily distance yourself. It would be the right political thing and the right moral thing, and she would never.
This is the Lethal Army quote.
He ordered his allies in Congress to kill. Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border. And America, we must also be steadfast in advancing our security and values abroad. As Vice President, I have confronted threats to our security, negotiated with foreign leaders, strengthened our alliances, and engaged with our brave troops overseas. As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world. And I will fulfill our sacred obligation to care for our troops and their families. And
Why would he quote this lethal fighting force in relation to the Palestinians? What a fucking retard. Why are we watching this?
Ever do it.
Right, and putting a Palestinian American on the stage at the DNC would have meant something materially because people said, oh, that's nothing, why not do that? It would have pushed back against her, the donors and the voters who represented the pro-Israel faction who wanted no pressure applied whatsoever to Israel.
Yeah.
And Harris's willingness even to put a vetted 2-minute speech from a Palestinian American on the stage that endorses her and endorses her strategy, her willingness to do that would be a glimmer of a possibility.
I like how they're pretending this. That's bullshit. If they would have stuck a pro-Palestinian person up there, they would have just said, oh, this person's a sellout, this person's a loser. They're just doing to try to win your vote without actually like promising any substantial change. That's what they would have said.
He's willing to take some risks on behalf of a ceasefire.
Right.
And so that's why
it was
there was some meaning to what seems kind of like a meaningful ask, and also is why she said,
what the fuck is a Palestinian American anyway? As long as you've got at least some kind of great-great-great-grandfather, cousin, or nephew that is in some Middle Eastern country ever, and you wear a keffiyeh, you get to be a Palestinian American.
no to it,
Right.
because she was not willing to take those risks.
That's right.
So if she's not willing to tick off a tiny sliver of her donors, because a lot of those donors would be like, okay, fine, so a Palestinian American speaks, like we had a vast array of speakers up on stage. It's
Yeah.
not that big a deal, we can get over it. If she's not even willing to do that, why on earth would she be willing to pressure Netanyahu to do something he doesn't want to do?
Yeah,
And so people concluded that she wouldn't be. And the other thing that I think this freakout shows is a recognition that Gaza did actually play a role in the election.
That is very true.
Because otherwise, why? Like, what are you so worked up about here?
Yeah, I mean, they love to be like, oh, you lefties, you don't matter, we don't care about you. And then
Which
the
is
minute that
it
they
here?
lose, it's like, it was your fault, you're so powerful, you know, and it's like, all right, well, which is it here? We have a statement from one of the co-chairs of the Uncommitted Movement we can put up on the screen. This is from
To be fair, you do the same with Italians and such. What does that mean? What?
Layla Elabad. Layla, wasn't one of them related to Rashida Tlaib? Is that?
Oh, maybe. Yeah. Well, certainly one of the uncommitted organizers was. Yeah.
Okay. In any case, she says, I feel sad, angry, and scared for our communities. For months, we warned about the dangers of Trump at home and abroad, but our calls largely went unheard. Harris left a vacuum by not visiting Michigan families impacted by U.S.-supplied bombs to help create a permission structure for their trust, while Trump visited Dearborn and filled a community in despair with lies. Trump's illegal calls for ethnic cleansing are horrific, but as on so many other issues, Democrats had a chance to persuade voters they were the better alternative, and they blew it. I think that is all very accurate in spite
Why people claiming to be Italian American, Irish American, etc. Oh.
of the a former Kamala Harris aide responding, deeply unserious people who want to shirk their responsibility, clowns. Because again, it's always the voters' fault, never the fault of the people in power who had many opportunities
Responsibility
to
is
do
such
something different.
Yeah, responsibility is such an interesting word there. Like, who has the responsibility there?
Right. Yes, exactly right. And then lastly, you can put this up on the screen. So the group that was called Arab Americans for Trump has now changed their name after the.
By the way, if American Jews decide they wish to relocate and live in Israel, it's not an easy process. It's very expensive and there's a lot of red tape. You're welcome there as long as you have money. I have never heard that in my entire life. That flies in the face of everything I've ever heard. I've always heard the opposite from people in Israel and outside of Israel, that if you even remotely show interest in wanting to relocate to Israel, they will facilitate like every single part of that fucking journey for you. I don't know. That's just what I've heard. To be fair, this is all anecdotal. I've never.
president's Gaza Riviera comments. They say that the chairman of the group formerly known as Arab Americans for Trump said during a phone interview the group is now going to be called Arab Americans for Peace. Name change came after Trump held that Tuesday press conference alongside Bibi Netanyahu and proposed the U.S. take ownership in redeveloping the area into the Riviera of the Middle East. To talk about what the president wants to do with Gaza, obviously we're completely opposed to the idea of the transfer of Palestinians from anywhere in historic Palestine, and so we did not want to be behind the curve in terms of pushing for peace because that has been our objective from the very beginning. I mean, I will say, I don't know how you could look at Trump's first term in office and think that he was going to be like pro-Palestine. I mean, he gave Israel everything they wanted, and he had Miriam Adelson giving him $100 million and being like, "We're going to take over the West Bank." You know, this was all out there publicly, so no one should be surprised by the approach that Trump is taking at this point. But you know, one thing, Ryan, one reason in particular why this discourse.
That's not true. Research it. Like I said, you're welcome there, but you need to pay into it. It's expensive to live there. I thought that there's a reason why a lot of people move to kind of like the border settlements that are like just past the Green Line is because it's a lot cheaper to live there than anywhere else, no?
Has kind of annoyed me in particular because, I mean, this is the kind of shit that liberals do all the time. But post-November, post-Trump winning again, there actually has been some liberal lefty alliance and community building because it's so clear that the liberal establishment approach was a failure. Right? They had this theory of, oh, we have an anti-Trump coalition and we need to focus on the suburban moderates. We're going to use Liz Cheney to do that. You know, that's how we're going to approach this. We're going to focus on, rather than addressing people's material concerns, which is what contributed to the rise of this, I would say, fascist movement. Rather than dealing with that, we're just going to, you know, talk about democracy, talk about fascism in the abstract, and not fully deliver for people. And you know, all of those theories were really wrong. Not to mention that they spent so much time destroying the Bernie Sanders movement, both in 2016 and then again vanquishing him in 2020. That I would say was their primary goal over ultimately defeating Trump. And all of that edifice has crumbled. You know, and some of the favored media personalities, the Joe Amicas of the world, have, you know, capitulated.
I don't think locality makes a difference. Wait, are you a Nazi or are you like an actual Israeli person? What are you talking about? I feel like the cost of living in different parts of, like, if you want to live in like Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, that's going to cost a lot more than if you just live in like a random Green Line settlement town, no? I thought living like right over the West Bank, like in some of those settlements, was like exceptionally cheap compared to living in like a proper Israeli city. To be fair, I'm going all by just what I've heard from every single person in Israel. But like that's anecdotal. I mean, I hear a lot of short people in America that's fucking retarded. So I mean, it's possible that I was just misinformed. Link me something if you got it.
To Trump after making lots of money being these big resistance figures. And so, you know, when he actually gets in there and they want to continue to have access to power, they immediately bend the knee. So there has been a real opening and I think a real radicalizing of a lot of liberals who have fled MSNBC, who are going to more like lefty YouTube channels like my husband's, Kyle's, but a lot of others too, David Dole, Mike Figueredo, have seen huge growth. So, you know, the other thing that irritates me about the, you know, the liberal discourse.
You could try living in a kibbutz. Funny you call me a Nazi. I am the child of persecuted German Jews. Okay, never mind. He's Israeli.
Here around Gaza is that I think it undercuts that new movement and sort of community building within the Democratic base and radicalizing in a lot of ways of the Democratic base.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to...
Democrats should eagerly welcome these folks into the fold instead of laughing at them or subjecting them to purity tests. I think that we need to build a base way more than we need to try to lure people who are hateful, disgusting fucks themselves. I don't know. But maybe that's just me. My niece and her husband just lost their jobs in a Doji purge. They also lost their healthcare insurance. Last year, they purchased their... Wait, has Doge actually purged any jobs yet? Or do they have jobs they were relying on? This feels fake to me. I don't know. I could be wrong. Last year, they purchased their first home with a $500,000 mortgage and $15K in property taxes. 4 months ago, they had their first child. Unfortunately, there were complications with the birth. The baby is still in hospital. Both voted for and actively campaigned for Trump. USA got purged, no. US aid got purged, no. No, I think they're all on just hold right now, I think, right? We need to accept everyone, because if we don't, then there wouldn't be an incentive to change views/votes. Always accept defectors. I mean, yeah, you should accept defectors, sure. I'm just saying that we don't need to try to like appeal to them. You should accept, if people want to change positions, that's fine. Welcome with open arms, sure.